This is Dungeon Fighter, I think, right? I think I've seen that before. Growth in existing virtual world, China, Dungeon Fighter, Korea, Maple Story, year-to-year growth and quarter driven by successful Lunar New Year update. Plan to expand our user base with level cap release in quarter 2. Recovery of user base in quarter 1. Expect active users and revenue to grow year-to-year from quarter 2 onward. Yeah, because we're now like 1 year behind the fucking catastrophe, right? Dungeon Fighter Mobile, spectacular performance in Korea since its launch on March. What is that? March? January, February, March. Yeah, March 24th. Dungeon and Fighter Mobile. Okay. Kart Rider Drift ARC Raiders on track to launch in 2H. What does that mean? In 2 hours? What does 2H mean? Several more new titles. DNF Duel is slated to launch in 6/28, on track to launch multiple new games from 2H. The second half? Oh, second half of the year. Okay. Why don't they do H2 then? Because it's like quarter 2, but 2H. That's so fucking inconsistent. Why don't you do Q1, Q2, H1, H2? Like, my bad. Expecting consistency and Nexon on any level is... North America and Europe, Kart Rider Drift and ARC Riders to drive Western business. No positive or negative there. Market and platform expansion. Okay, mobile. Successful launch of Dungeon Fighter Mobile, polishing the gameplay of Mabinogi Mobile. There's a Mabinogi Mobile? Damn. Console, DNF Duel, Kart Rider Drift, ARC Raiders to drive console business. They're going to throw that on console? Okay. Revenue growth breakdown. In billions of yen. Quarter 1 to quarter 2, 2021. High end, 178.3. Maple Story went down 3.5 only, which is pretty positive considering how fucking horrible last year must have been for them. So year to year, that's actually pretty good. They almost recovered from that, and it's definitely, you know, existing PC CD titles plus 14.3 plus 12.5. Mobile titles 10.7 new releases. That's pretty substantial actually. I wonder how much that is gonna keep picking up as like the country completely opens up again. That's quarter 1, quarter 2. I don't know if you can compare. Usually you can compare quarters of years pretty cleanly throughout the year because people's lives are kind of like broken down by quarters. It's pretty consistent. But with the corona stuff and things opening up, one quarter to another one can be completely, or one quarter to the same quarter last year can be completely different, especially when it comes to like mobile gaming or gaming in general. It can be way up if people are at home all day, and then if the country opens up again and people can move around, you'll see a huge difference. Accounting conventions are some of the more arbitrary ones out there, yeah. And I guess once everyone uses it, you just have to copy it, otherwise nobody understands what the fuck you're doing. You got back to like 2019. Well, you have to look back at 2019 and then at the projection of where you were expecting 2022 to be, considering like stable rate of growth from 2019, right? And then see how much below it you are, and then see how the market did in general, and then see if you performed above or below the market. That's I think what the best metric would be. DNF franchise, do not fuck franchise. Growth with platform expansion. Jesus Christ. So this is not Dungeon Fighter Online, right? Dungeon and Fighter is just something slightly different. They just yoinked the Dungeon Fighter Mobile just like 4x'd in size. Enduring power of virtual worlds, DNF franchise generated over 20 billion life to date, non-linear but extremely robust growth trajectory. Yeah. So this tanked, but like everything tanked here, right? This is not like exceptional tanking. Do you have PC in China grew, is expected to grow year to year, both in Q1 and Q2. Recent launch of DNF Mobile in Korea has helped to re-accelerate the franchise. Okay. CFO highlights. Q1 22 result highlights, net income. What are we looking at? In line with expectations, FIFA Online 4, MapleStory in the row, and Dungeon Fighter Mobile, which launched in Korea on March 24th. MapleStory in the row? What? Oh, rest of the world. Includes other Asian countries as well as Central and South American countries. Significantly exceeding the outlook, while China Dungeon and Fighter was slightly below outlook. Year-to-year increase in FIFA Online 4 in China, MapleStory, and the rest of the world, as well as the contribution of Dungeon and Fighter Mobile in Korea, were offset by a decrease in Korea MapleStory. Yeah. Income, life expectation, marketing expenses, and HR costs were lower than our plan, while royalty costs and PG fee exceeded our plan due to stronger than expected sales from FIFA Online 4 and Dungeon Fighter Mobile. I mean, it should be linear to your gains from them, or at least slightly, right? Year decrease primarily due to increase in HR costs and marketing expense, while revenues were roughly flat year to year. Wait, is this from two different points? Point 1, in line with expectations. Operating income, in line with expectations. Marketing expenses and HR costs were lower than our plan. Second point, year-to-year decrease primarily due to increase in HR costs and marketing expenses. They're just directly contradicting each other. What am I missing here? Even though they increased, it was still lower than they expected or than they planned for. I guess they're not primarily exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive. It just looks a little weird. Yeah, what you said, Clive, yeah. At least I think that's what you're saying. Planning for an increase in Asia, but actually, yeah, exactly. Okay. Quarter 122 outlook. Okay, they came out at the upper end there. Year-on-year percentage 3%. PC. They were careful here. Well, they hit about the middle of what they were looking for. A little bit over middle. Operating income down 11%. It's don't you cry no more. Yeah, I thought the income was going to drop much more significantly. I guess they were expecting the new launch titles to not do as well, and for MapleStory to not have recovered as well yet. So in both cases, that's a, even though it's a big drop, it's a not nearly as bad as they thought it was going to be, right? Net income exceeded outlook driven by 12.7 billion FX gain, primarily in US dollar denominated cash deposits. Oh, do you think they also took into account the losses on their Bitcoin investment? Because that was kind of yikes, right? I think they bought at the absolute peak. They bought a bunch of Bitcoin. Revenue breakdown: 53% Korea, 33% China, 3% Japan, North America and Europe, 5%, rest of the world 6%. PC 74 still, and mobile 26%. That's crazy though. I expected Nexon's mobile income to be way higher comparatively to. I expected it to be more like 60-40 or 50-50, honestly. Or maybe even in favor of mobile, honestly. I mean, it's still weird to say mobile when... I mean, it's really only like PC, like standalone PCs. Everyone can play everything on mobile, like almost, right? You can just like computer... You can have your computer on and then... like share a screen, right? And then be on your mobile and just play it from anywhere. A lot of us are degenerately addicted to mobile. Yeah, lucky for them. Well, I mean, it's not lucky for them. They work very hard to get us addicted, right? Revenue by region. Down, 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 down. Korea down a little bit, mainly because of drop in MapleStory. China up quite a bit. Japan also significantly down. Europe and North America down a bit. Rest of the world up 40%. Revenue per platform. PC. A little bit mobile. Constant currency is non-GAP measured used to show performance unaffected by fluctuations in foreign currency exchange rates. Constant. Can I zoom in a little bit? Okay. Currency basis amounts are calculated using the average foreign currency exchange rates in a comparable period in the prior year and applied to the current period. As an example, we calculate royalty revenues from China Dungeon Fighter by applying the same with the Chinese yuan, I think, right? To USD to Korean won, and Korean won to Japanese yen. Exchange rates from last year's same fiscal quarter. Okay. For the KPIs, PC online games. Korea China highlights exceeded outlook primarily driven by significant outperformances in FIFA Online 4 and Dungeon Fighter Online. Well, I guess in MapleStory not almost bouncing back. MapleStory decreased year to year at the high end of outlook driven by well-received winter update. NPS recovered to pre-probability issue level. Pre-probability issue level. Isn't it weird that they put the hyphen here? Pre-probability issue level? I would put the hyphen here between probability and issue. It's pre-probability issue level, not pre-probability issue level. Isn't that a weird breakup of the... I don't know. Like for Nexon, a lot of it... Okay, well, you already said that. I already read that. Okay, as reported, -5. So quarter one is usually really good, but it doesn't include the summer update. Wait, quarter two includes the summer update, and it's usually this low? Really? Quarter one... Wait, does quarter one include the winter update completely? And then quarter two? Oh, and then... No, quarter two is already almost over, right? 3 has the summer update. But the winter update apparently did very well in Korea, yeah. Good shit. And I think it'll do really well for us as well. Pre-probability issue levels... Yeah, just put... just hyphen the whole thing, bro. Full hyphen. Japan results as planned. North America and Europe exceeded outlook driven by MapleStory M and Blue Archive. MapleStory M grew by 31% year to year. Whew. Well, that answers your question how Maple M was performing, right, Telegra? Choices and MapleStory decreased. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? Exceeded outlook driven by MapleStory and MapleStory M rest of the world as well. Both MapleStory and MapleStory M revenue grew 61% and 50% year to year respectively. Okay, so they're talking about rest of the world includes other Asian countries as well as Central and South American countries. So in all countries, that does not include Korea, China, Japan, North America, and Europe. All other countries. MapleStory went up 61% in revenue, and MapleStory M 50%. Maple M what? Maple M here grew 31% year to year in North America and Europe, and 50% year to year in the rest of the world. And they're basically like keeping the whole rest of the shit afloat. Remember when Korea was keeping North America afloat? Now the rest of the world is keeping Korea and North America afloat. Quarter 2 2022 outlook. Wow, they're expecting it to go up a lot. They're expecting a 45 to 56% increase based on last year. Wait, 73. So we're expecting it to be lower than this first quarter, which it probably should be, but not that much lower. Well, I guess 81 on the lower end is probably a little bit more realistic. Although, it's a big difference, man. It's a big difference here. Seems high, but, you know. We're expecting way more money from, oh no, quarter 2, yeah. Expecting this year's quarter 2 to be way bigger, but... PC, mobile, operating income. Expecting the net income to go up by 80 to 120%, okay. Or not go up by 80, well... Oh yeah, go up by 100%, yeah. Earnings per share... So earnings per share almost doubled last year? Fuck. Where's your Nexon shares, guys? Barrier to entry is low for Maple M? Yeah. And barrier to profits is super easy. It's just, dude, have you played a little bit of Maple M and seen the prices of the packages and stuff? It's kind of bonkers. Quarter 2 2022 Korea China outlook. Low end, high end. Wait, why are they expecting a better second quarter than a first quarter? Increase apparently driven by Dungeon & Fighter Mobile, FIFA Online, and MapleStory. Maybe expect to increase year to year. Expect FIFA Online and Dungeon & Fighter to grow while Sudden Attack to decrease. Expect to roughly double mobile. Wow. Benefit from Dungeon & Fighter Mobile and Blue Archive. Expect FIFA Online 4 to increase year to year, while V4, the Kingdom of the Wind, Xeon, and Card Rush to decrease. But those are smaller games anyway, right? China introduced Labor Day update, scheduled to introduce the 14th anniversary update on 6/16. Oh, that's for Dungeon Fighter, yeah. No, this has to be... Dungeon Fighter is that old as well? Damn. Wait, wasn't it always called Dungeon Fighter? Did they rename the whole thing from Dungeon Fighter to Dungeon and Fighter? In April, paying users and ARPU were up what, year to year. Driven by a successful Labor Day update. Expect quarter 2 to increase year to year. Level cap, yeah, they want to do level cap release, so they're coming for your money. Japan, North America, Europe, rest of the world outlook. Japan expect to benefit from counter side. Decrease in Traha and V4. So like roughly staying the same. Maybe small growth. North America and Europe expect revenues to increase year to year. Expect the benefit from Blue Archives and DNF Duel, which is scheduled to launch on June 28th. Wait, so okay, but it was always DFO, right? Did anyone play these games? When did it go from Dungeon Fighter Online to DNF? Did they just like rename it? Did they take the online away? Which I applaud. Having an online in your game title in the 21st century is just cringe as fuck. So it just changes to Dungeon and Fighter, I guess, DNF. I expect a year-to-year increase in MapleStory M, and expect a year-to-year decreases in choices and MapleStory. Oh, so they're expecting MapleStory to decrease Q2 versus... yeah. Well, they should... Yes. Because of the compensation, right? When it comes to Q3, though, I think they can expect an increase in MapleStory compared to last year for third quarter. Because, I mean, this is Q1 presentation, but Q2 is almost already over, right? There was no end when I played? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. It was just called Dungeon Fighter Online, right? DFO? Yeah. Okay. And rest of the world, expecting revenues to increase year to year, expect year-to-year increase in MapleStory and MapleStory M. Because that's apparently MapleStory is doing really well in... I mean, is it basically just MapleC? Is there a separate MapleStory South America now? There isn't, right? Those people are playing on global, aren't they? What MapleStory am I playing? Global, yeah. Yeah, Europe MapleStory, it's all in the global client now. So, if you just log in, you can pick whether you want to... You pick global, that's just one client, and then you pick whether you want to select NA region or EU region. And then within the different regions, you have different servers. DNF Duel is the DFO fighting game, so maybe they just changed the name to DNF to just kind of give it its own identity. Ah, it's a DFO fighting game. Okay. But they're not mentioning DFO at all here. Well, I thought that was actually a huge game. That's why I'm kind of confused. So it's basically like it's like Street Fighter or something with the Dungeon Fighter Online characters, right? I wonder there's no MapleC reboot? Yeah. Well, I mean, if it keeps increasing in the region, then maybe eventually there will be one, right? Let the boogie, heat of love, I wanna rock with you all night. Sunlight. I wanna rock with you. At the beat of love. We can ride the boogie. All night. Sunlight. Night away. Bum, 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 bum. Think they own DFO anymore? Ah, did they sell? So who owns that then? Well, that would explain why it's not mentioned at all anymore. Did they sell it off? What do I think of Maple M? It's a very like standard mobile game, I guess. One of those where you start and from like you start with like 1 or 2 things that you can do, and by the end of the first day you've got like 15 things you can do, and by the end of the first week you've got like 350 things that you can do that basically all have like limited entries, and it's just hardcore, basically Skinner box FOMO simulation. And then you can just do that for like a few months until you're just completely stuck and you can't progress anymore because of the fees and everything. Not the, like real money fees, but just like everything gets too expensive. It takes forever to build up. It takes forever to like build up the resources, right, to get what you want. And then, you know, to try to maintain that feeling of progressing, then, you know, you get hardcore pushed into the pay to win corner so that you can feel like you're still making gains like you were in the beginning. Which is like very clearly the mobile pipeline, right? So like PC mobile, I feel like Maple M is kind of like if we had regular Maple, but every single boss fight was only open for like 15 minutes a day on like 3, or for like 15 minutes on like 4 different times throughout the entire day. For every single boss. That's kind of what it feels like to me when I played it. Okay, year-to-year operating income comparison high end. PG fees associated with mobile revenue growth. What is PG? What does that stand for? Is it something like publicity? We're going adult-friendly Maple? Yeah, definitely not that. Potential growth? Associated with mobile revenue growth, okay. Royalty costs in relation to increased revenues from FIFA Online 4. Increased HR costs related to headcount for development and launch of multiple new virtual worlds. Bonus accruals to teams with great performance. I guess if they sold off DFO, that's probably why they're launching like a bunch of new products to see if they can like fill that gap, right? Been a bit since they owned it? I have no idea. Last time I checked one of these, it was still very prominent in there. A couple of years? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just super behind then. Increased outsourcing fees, increased cloud service fees. Shareholder return, buyback. Uh-oh. Share buybacks. Everyone match. Announced a share repurchase policy to buy back up to 100 billion over the 3 years from November 2020 to November 23. Completed 40 billion worth of share repurchases by April 2022. Plan to conduct remaining 60 billion by November 2023. Okay. Okay. Thinking caps. Stock buyback is stock buyback basically you regaining control of your own company and reinvesting your profits into a bigger decision-making share of your own company, which in return hopefully also drives up the value of those shares because it increases the demand, what some people might call artificially because you're the one who's buying it. I know that this was kind of contemptuous is maybe not the word, but controversial when the fucking bailout stuff under Trump happened in the beginning of the pandemic, right? Because Trump gave a bunch of money and they never really said like you have to use this to like compensate your workers. So but everyone just ended up like buying a bunch of their stock back. And some people were arguing against it, but a lot of those arguments were just like capitalism bad. Pros and cons. Stock buybacks. Pros and cons. Stock buybacks, although they can provide benefits, have been called into question in recent years. Okay, but that doesn't say anything. Tell me why. There's been a large rise in buybacks over the last decade, with some companies looking to take advantage of undervalued stocks, while others do it to artificially boost the stock price. Okay. Buybacks can help increase the value of a stock option, which are part of many executives' compensation package. Oh yeah, that's like the whole weird thing is because CEOs, especially in the US, right, like how much they get is very closely related to, they get like paid in stock, right? So you can like push, you can feel like a conflict of interest if you push your company to buy back a lot of stock. And they can say like, oh, but then, so, you know, there might be a chance that the stock goes up. Plus, we'll have a bigger decision right within our own company. You know, plus, if it makes the price go up, then basically it makes my income go up because I'm the CEO and I have a bunch of stock, right? Did they buy a bunch of Bitcoin? Yeah, they did. I think at the absolute peak, they did. Yeah, buyback programs can be easier to implement than dividend programs, however. Oh yeah, that was all meme, like, versus... stock buybacks versus dividends as like a way of returning profit to your shareholders, right? So Apple strategy, shares of the tech giant gained more than 35% over the last year as of September 2020 as it continues to sell iPhones at scale. However, Apple certainly isn't the norm on Wall Street, and analysts continue to ask the question, are corporate stock buybacks a good thing? Capital expenditures or invest in other ways into their existing business. They can pay cash dividends to shareholders. They can acquire another company or business unit. They can use the money to repurchase their shares as stock buyback. Similar to a dividend, the stock buyback is a way to return capital to shareholders. A dividend is effectively a cash bonus amounting to a percentage of shareholders. Requires a shareholder to surrender stock to the company to receive the cash. Yeah, those shares are then pulled out of circulation and taken off the market. Buyback. For 1980, buybacks weren't all that common. More recently, they have become far more frequent. S&P 500 allocated 2.4 trillion and 50% earnings to buybacks, according to the giants like Apple and Amazon, with smaller companies also getting into buyback. Well, not only. In 2019, stock buybacks by the U.S. companies totaled nearly 730 billion. Companies have constantly increasing the amount of cash they put into buying back their stock over the last decade. Our business reviews more than half of some economists using excess cash to buy up their stocks in the open market is the opposite of what companies should be doing, which is reinvesting to facilitate growth as well as job creation and capacity. The biggest social concern about this has to do with opportunity cost. Money that goes to shareholders in a stock buyback program could have been used for maintenance and upkeep. On average, fixed assets and consumer durable goes into... But isn't the idea that you buy back the stocks, drive up the price because you're driving up the supply and the demand curve, and then after that, you resell it to people once the price has gone up, and then you end up with the same percentage control in your company, but you end up having created value out of thin air, right? Isn't that the thing that people would be kind of like scared of, that could be going on? But yeah, I guess what they're saying here is that the other thing you could do with a lot of cash reserves, instead of just basically returning it to the shareholders this way, is to grow instead and reinvest. But it looks like Nexon is reinvesting a whole bunch, right? They're just doing this as part of a way of paying out more dividends, quote unquote. Instead of paying dividends, they're doing this instead. And in the process, they retain more of their own stock, so they can resell it later if they need a cash injection. But while they're doing that, they're also investing in new projects and in scaling up. It feels like it's just like part of a strategy. I feel like if your only strategy is just like full stock buyback, that's probably a little bit weird. But it could be like part of a balanced financial strategy. Is what at least what I read it as. A lot of attention paid to the nation's crumbling roads and bridges. Scale and frequency of buybacks have become so significant that even shareholders who presumably benefit from such a are not without worry. And concerns that in the wake of a financial crisis, many companies have shied away from investing in the future growth of their companies. Too many companies have cut capital expenditure and even increased debt to boost dividends and increase share buybacks, according to Harvard. The 500 highest paid executives. Yeah, because I feel like you could be a little bit yiked by this, right? Because it would seem like a CEO would have a invested interest in increasing it. Because if you can increase it, then his profit, no, like his income disproportionately will be increased, right? Because the amount of a company's share, open market buybacks automatically lift its stock price, even if only temporarily, and can enable the company to hit quarterly earnings per share. Yeah, and that also, it can like artificially boost companies to looking like they're more profitable than they actually are, which kind of like muddies the water in terms of like how well is it really doing, right? The prevent share buybacks reduce the company's shares available in the market, and all things being equal, increase the EPS and the share price for shareholders. Well, not benefiting shareholders, right? Well, benefiting shareholders, but a company is a shareholder in its own company, so benefiting themselves mostly, I think, right? For companies flush with cash, the prospect of building up can be tempting, especially in an environment where the average yield on corporate cash investment is barely more than 1%. I mean, you're basically just buying stock in your own company, right? Crazy open for exploitation, but you can't exactly prevent a company from purchasing their own stock and call it free market capitalism. Yeah, because if you do, what'll happen is that they'll just start like another company, and that other company will just buy their stock, and then they will basically have another company will have like a seat at the table to determine how their company will be run, and that other company will eventually be run by the exact same people, and then they'll just have one extra corporate structure in place and they'll do the exact same thing, right? That's like the easiest workaround. Additional companies that buy back their shares often believe the stock is undervalued. They believe their stock is undervalued, yeah, and a good buy at the current market price. Billionaire investors Warren Buffett utilizes stock buybacks when he feels that shares of his own company, Berkshire Hathaway, are trading at too low a level. However, the annual report emphasizes that Berkshire's directors will only authorize his repurchase at a price they believe to be well below intrinsic value. Okay. Buyback will create a level of support for the stock, especially during a recessionary period, during a market correction. And the buyback will increase share prices. Stock trade in part based upon supply and demand. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's all super obvious. Therefore, a company can bring about an increase in its stock value by creating a supply shock. But this almost, you know what this really sounds like? If you just read the surface level of this shit, it really just sounds like you're pump and dumping your own crypto coin. That's what this sounds like, right? So I feel like this should probably be government regulated on some level. It's like you own your coin and you just buy like billions of your coin to make supply go up, and then you fucking like, and then you like pull the rug again, and then you dip. In this way, you're not gonna really rug pull and dip, of course, because you have an underlying fucking company, right? No, we didn't take the taunt away. Are you faster? Oh, are you faster? Is he faster? Oh, he's faster. Nice, just took the taunt away. Yeah. Google Terra Luna Scardor. I don't have to Google that. I know what happened. Why going to be a way for a company to protect itself from a hostile takeover, or signal that the company plans on going private? Those are the pros. Okay, the cons. Metrics for judging a company's financial position of its EPS. Yeah, okay. Of course, but decrease the number of outstanding stock thus enables a company to increase the metric without actually increasing its earnings or doing anything to support the idea that it is becoming financially stronger. But it kind of shows that you are stronger because you can only really buy back your stock if you're sitting on a bunch of cash reserves. And if you're sitting on a bunch of cash reserves, you're probably doing well, right? It's a rug pull of the century? Yeah, I saw KSI put like 3 million in and lost it all in like a day. If anything, the fact that he bought it probably triggered the fucking rug pull. Him and like other people who went in on at the same time. As an illustration, consider a company where the yearly earnings is 10 mil and 500,000 outstanding shares. The company's EPS then is $20. If its repurchase is 100,000, increase to 25%, even though its earnings have not budged. Investors who use EPS to gauge financial position may view this company as stronger than a similar firm with EPS of $20, when in reality, the stock buyback tactics account for a fundamental difference. Yeah. The key reasons that are controversial: the impact of the earnings per share, artificial lift, and stock closer look at the company's ratios. Companies will use buybacks. It is short-term bump in the stock price, some say allows insiders to profit while suckering other investors. Price increase may look for good at first, but a positive effect is ephemeral. With a equilibrium regarding. So have you learned about this stuff, Klufny? Because I don't know, like, you seem to be engaging most with this topic, so I don't know if you've seen this stuff around in like school or other places. I feel like it's probably fine, as most things, it's probably fine in moderation, but it should probably be government controlled in some kind of way, because it seems a little bit yikesy, right? Accountant turned data scientist. Ah, I see. What should the average damage range be for a 205 DK on a non-reboot server? No clue, man. First of all, range is an outdated metric. You can check the range video for that. So range is an outdated metric, so that's not something you want to look at. Especially not on a character with a lot of final damage like Dark Knight, because the numbers will be all over the place. And it'd be very, very hard to really make a consistent prediction or projection based on what the number is. And second of all, I only play on reboot, so for non-reboot, I don't really know. Plus, around 205 is really tricky, because if it's your very first character, pretty low is pretty normal. But if it's your second or third character, as soon as you hit 205, you can dump like arcanes into it, you can dump a bunch of nodes into it, right? If you have just the right amount of money, and you can make insane, like explosive gains compared to someone who's relatively new. And it'll unironically be like one person can just do 10 times the damage of another person. And range is just like one kind of metric that tries to track how much damage you do, but it is not the metric, and it is definitely not the only metric. So if you check the range video, you'll hopefully get a little bit better of an idea of where damage comes from. But that is with the eyes on reboot, and non-reboot has different ways of making getting stats and getting stronger. So for non-reboot, some of the metrics will be quite different. But it gives you a little bit better of an idea of where damage comes from and what you want to be looking at instead of looking at the range. I spend way too much of my time dealing with financials. Okay. Well, I feel like I kind of bottom line. Yeah, I feel like I kind of get it. I feel like I kind of got it already before, but okay. So what is this? Yeah, so that's the stock buyback stuff. Okay, China Dungeon and Fighter update schedule. Lunar New Year update. Labor Day update. Pipeline Dungeon and Fighter mobile. For China, that's rest of the world, I think, right? Or is that EU and tentative title is with everything with a 3. Oh, it says here North America and rest of the world. Okay, Korea, China, Japan, and just everyone else. PC, online, mobile, console. We're gonna try Dungeon and Fighter mobile everywhere, dude. A mobile fighting game. That's well, if they make money off of it, good for them. So they're bringing Kart Rider Drift to basically all regions except for China on all platforms. We're gonna have Kart Rider Drift on the Switch. No problem, Trish from White. Arc Raiders. Embark? Okay, what the fuck is Arc Raiders? It looks like Star Wars Rogue Squadron is what it looks like. Is it like space shooter? What is it? Whoa. Oh. Oh, is this like the shooter MMO thing? Warhammer? No, not Warhammer. What's the Destiny? No, not like Destiny. What's the other one? Is it Destiny that I'm thinking of? No, I'm not thinking of Destiny. Warframe, that's the one. Warframe. But Warframe and Destiny are pretty similar, right? Okay, except for this video being a little bit jank and not showing up properly. Yeah, what happened with Anthem? Didn't Anthem have like that insane fucking launch trailer and then it ended up like imploding instantly? What happened with fucking Anthem? Didn't it end up playing like shit? It died like 6 times? Rip, bro. Yeah, no, I'm talking like Warframe, Destiny, yeah, like those games. How is my internet not keeping up with this? What is this shit quality? It's on 360p! Re? Congrats, Noah, on 278. Thanks, Noah. Tell me you need attention without saying you need... Congrats, Noah. You're huge, okay? Giant Epine. Oh. Oh, it's the steel giant from the movie. Okay, so this game is doing... Is gonna be released soon? Arc Raiders. Okay. Okay. What else do we have? Dungeon and Fighter Duel. Who's next? Games based on original IP. Tales Weaver Second Run. Dynasty Warriors 9 Mobile. Okay, aren't mobile games supposed to like run forever and like have you Pepega swiping your credit card forever? How do you have number 9? Doesn't that go directly against that stuff? Project SF2? What is it? This is some Genshin Impact shit. Project HP. Project D. Project D's nuts. Overkill. Dungeon and Fighter Overkill. The Dungeon and Fighter, I feel like it is kind of overkill how many games they're making on the Dungeon and Fighter IP. Hit 2. Mabinogi Mobile. Project ER. Computer and Mobile. Project Mod. With letters? Project Magnum. Project AK. This reminds me of something, this logo. Project Discovery. Okay. Well, we got a lot of stuff. Dicks. Got him. Beautiful girl. Financials. Summary of results and key operational metrics. Also known as COM. Q1 222 year. Korea 5% down, China 15% up, Japan 17 down, North America and Europe a little bit down, and then the rest of the world up like crazy. COGS and SG&A. Okay, Not sure what all of that shit is. P&L below operating income. Profits and losses. Finance income. Finance costs. Cash flow statement. March 31st, 2022. Okay. Cash and cash equivalents at beginning of fiscal year. Well, it's higher now because they have to buy back all of like 600 million stock still, right? Balance sheet. $200x technically, yeah. Liabilities, tax liabilities is a bit higher. Where would their where are their Bitcoin? Would it be here in capital surplus or something? Capital stock? Is it under this? Or is it under... No, non-current financial assets. No, wait, this is the opposite side. No, you should have... It should be here, right? Intangible assets? Investments accounted for using equity method? Is it this? Would it be... Would they be under this? Fuck, I'm trying to remember accounting. Jesus, fuck. This is like 14 years ago for me at the latest. These are your liabilities. These are your assets. So it should be on the left side. So it should be under this, right? I think. Investments accounted for using equity method. I think their Bitcoin should be under here. Okay, cool. P&L reporting a segment. Jesus, how long is this fucking presentation? New Jersey? Nice. New Japan? Number of employees. 269. So historical financials. Key titles by region. Korea, MapleStory. EA Sports FIFA Online 4M. EA Sports FIFA Online 4. Dungeon and Fighter Mobile. Dungeon and Fighter. The Kingdom of the Winds, Yeon. You were good. Sudden Attack, Blue Archive. Oh boy. Babanogi, MapleStory M. Yay! Dungeon Fighter, MapleStory, Counter-Strike Online, Japan, MapleStory, Counter-Side. Jesus. Wow. The Lolicon Gorilla Weep shit is doing well in Japan. Shocker. North America and Europe, MapleStory M. Choices, stories you play, and then MapleStory. Oof. The choices, stories you play does better in North America and Europe than MapleStory. At least over Q1, guys. Oof. And way under MapleStory M. Nexon IP, Dungeon and Fighter franchise Ltd. Launched 2005, 850 million registered users. Update 20 billion USD. Gross revenue several $billion more than life-to-date box office of Star Wars and Harry Potter series. More than double the revenue of the entire Avengers series. I like these kind of comparisons. Because the amount of people who know about Dungeon... There's so many people who don't know what the fuck this even is, right? But it's made like twice the amount of money of all the box office of all the Avengers series combined. Like, it's kind of crazy. Constantly evolving for 16 years with new character skills and communities. Easy to learn, hard to master accessibility. MapleStory franchise, 2003, 180 million users. See, that's like... That's a fifth the size. Wait, what is this? New boss? Question mark? Life to date franchise revenue of $3 billion. Combined PC and mobile revenue exceeds global box office of the movie franchise Frozen, one of Disney's biggest. Easy clap. Eat shit Frozen. Eat frozen shit, maybe. Easy to learn how to mess. Korea MapleStory. Look at that. Ooh. Man, look at what the trajectory it was on, man. And then they fucked up so fucking hard with the RNG and with the odds for the inner abilities and the flames and the potentials to an extent. Look at what they gave away, man. If they didn't give that away, and you're like, I mean, it was gonna like float up anyway, but like they would be like here, you know. God, it's such a big fucking piece of the pie. MapleStory M is like slowed down, but it's still growing. Kart Rider. 380 million users? I don't know. Over half of all the Korean population, over 45% of Taiwanese population has played the game. That's kind of nuts, though. These are like League of Legends numbers, you know? Of how many people within a country have tried it. Dun, 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 dun. What, is this also from 2005? Damn. Highly accessible online first-person shooter with fast, visceral action. This is like Habbo Hotel with breakdancing, I guess. Eastern Habbo Hotel. Why are you posing? How do you know there's a picture being taken even? Who are you looking at right now? There's nobody there. Global leader in virtual worlds. Nexon is well positioned to benefit from the paradigm shift in the entertainment industry. Oh, yeah? Are we going metaverse? Yeah? Is that what's going on? Light. Clash Royale. Very online. I mean, MapleStory is pretty light. They're calling MapleStory more immersive than Fortnite? I don't know about that. I mean, it's a little tooting your horn a little bit too hard, maybe. Nexon focus. Focus on virtual worlds. Platform expansion. Leverage your own IP. Invest in new IP and technology. It'd be interesting if a game like this does really well and actually starts competing, like Arc Raider starts competing with the other. Revenue, solid foundation, MapleStory all the way here. Yeah. The chance for growth they on MapleStory they see as the lowest, right? Or I guess since it's more on the left, do you think they have it has a higher chance for growth or a smaller chance for growth? They've got a bunch of projects here. Wonder what those are gonna do. Mental model of virtual worlds can grow over a period of years despite the near-term ups and downs. Traditional games, wham. Virtual worlds, wham. Wait, what traditional games are not in virtual worlds? I guess they don't really exist. Or exist. I don't really understand. Are they talking about just like actual metaverse shit? Kind of sounds like that's what they're talking about, but.